Hey, it's MK, and I am here with a Stitches and Stencils layout for you guys today, and I am also playing along with my Week 3 Kit Conspiracy kit, which is from our 2024 Scrappin' on a Ship cruise that we did, and I want to share with you guys. So I have a ink pad with a blender tool. I also have one part of my beginner or starter set stencil. Now my box is different because this is an exclusive box that I have all my needles and needle threader in for. It was made for the retreat that we did in Wyoming this last week or weekend. And so I wanted to keep the box, but I kept my pad and the original stitching ruler. Anyways, I have all of these photos from these 2-page pocket protectors that I want to do a 2-page layout in. So instead of having 4 pages front to back of 2 pocket pages, I want to just have a double page. I have my stencil picked out, which was that gear stencil from the Crafter's Workshop. I also have my Simple Stories paper that I have from Strawberry Fields, I believe, and 2 cream colored cardstocks because I didn't want it to be bright white. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out all of my pictures. Now each picture is divided into sections. Now this was one whole wall in a corridor that went from the art gallery, and I want to say into the casino, or it was into the deck 5, which was the promenade. I don't really remember exactly which corridor this was of the art gallery, whether it was going one way or the other. But I love numbers. And so this little wall of all these odds and numbers and how many it takes to get to what and whatnot. And then, of course, the little sayings about the Kentucky Derby, going to the moon, the exploring the Antarctic, and, of course, gambling in the casinos. I just couldn't pass up. But when I originally put my layout together, or my album together, and had all these photos, I thought it would be really cool for them to be in pocket pages, and each section of the wall would have its own page. And the more that I am looking at this ginormous album, I just feel like, nope, that's not going to work. And I think that this would look really super cool if I made a wall for the wall, right? Because this was, like I said, a corridor walking down, so a really long wall that was set up into 4 sections, and then it had all of this scrapbooking looking detail to it. So one little section, which I have them printed out so you could see the little section, and then it had all these little discs popped up of all these different little odds and newspaper clippings and other little elements that popped off the wall, basically. It was just a really cool design, and I felt like putting them in a pocket page and all divided up like that, you weren't going to get that same super cool effect. So here I am creating the background of my own wall, right? I'm going to create a wall for showing off my wall. How many times can I say the word wall? But I'm just taking my geared stencil, because I at first was going to do a circle stencil, and I thought, well, all the odds are already in circles, so I probably don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do instead is I took a geared stencil, which creates movement on my page, because gears provide movement once they are being turned, yes? And so that is what I'm going to do. Then I'm going to take my one piece of paper and I'm going to split it in half. Now I chose very, very neutral tones for my background because, again, I am creating a wall. I'm creating a gallery for my wall to show off what I'm doing here. And I wanted it to be very neutral because I technically have a rainbow of colors in my pictures. So I want my background to be completely, well, basically non-existent, but yet design style wise existent. I hope that makes sense. So I haven't quite figured out what else I'm going to do with this layout just yet. I do fast forward all of the heartache of when I do make that decision. But right now I've just got very plain Jane going on here. So a lot of neutral colors, which I absolutely love. So that way my photos will pop off this page. So now I have to decide what other color do I want to add to this layout, because I still have to do stitching. And I was looking for a stripe. I didn't like the stripe ideas that I had already picked out in patterns. So I went with this crosshatch, which, to be honest, you guys, I didn't realize I was going to use this piece of paper in the next 3 layouts. I had no idea that that's what I was going to do, but it also makes me very happy to be doing this this many times, because then I don't have this design in just one of my layouts, but I ended up having it in 3 of my layouts. So that makes me very, very happy. All right, so I'm going to put a little border above my 6-inch band, as well as down at the border below, to make it look like it was a baseboard of some sort. So I'm going to go ahead and just ink these up, and then after I ink them up, I realize they're still too flat, and I'm going to go ahead and distress them a little bit as well, because like I said, they are just way too flat once I ink them all up. And because I had such tiny little pieces to deal with, and my trimmer isn't very friendly, I feel like the little paper holder downer thing is just too thick. I can't get thin pieces under there. So my my little strips are not perfect, but in the end, I don't even notice them. It doesn't bother me. As long as when they meet in the middle, they match up. That's all that matters to me. All right, so again, like I said, they still felt flat, so I'm going to just distress them a little bit. And I use my finger because my distressing tool is actually a little bit too deep. The blade inside is too deep for tiny little pieces like this. So I just use my little finger. I feel like it's safer than using scissors still. And again, because my strips are not perfect, I'm going to tuck some of it in and leave some of it, butted up against. So that way they do look like they go straight across, and they're a little bit straighter than what they were originally cut at. So hopefully that makes sense. As for the bottom pieces, I really can't help the fact that they're wonky, but when I line them up in the middle, it actually, as long as they line up, it takes your eye away from it's skinnier at this end than it is at the other end. So I'm happy with that as well. So here I'm just trying to line it up, and again, tucking some of the pieces in, but knowing that I don't have to tuck them all in because they're wider on one end than on the other. So, and I'm super happy with how this is looking. I really do like how these little X's just go. They blend really well with the page. They don't add a whole lot of color because, again, I didn't want to add a whole lot of color. I just love the fact that all my photos have all the color in them. So once I'm done, I will trim up my edges because some paper is wider than others. I still haven't figured that part out yet. Now here's where the stitching comes in. So the design that I chose on my ruler is actually just called the cross stitch. And so I'm going to make a whole bunch of little X's. Now I had no idea where my pictures are going to go, and I could have saved myself a lot of stitching had I figured out my design first. I didn't think that far ahead. I thought, you know what, I'm going to just go ahead and do the background, and then I will figure out how I want my layout to go. I accidentally forgot to pick out my stitching. I had all the other supplies but the thread. So I picked out this really cool, very light aqua color because it matched the little X's that are on my paper very, very well, or plus signs, whatever you want to call them. I'm just going to use my little threader. I picked up this threader. Actually, I didn't pick it up. Janet picked it up off of Amazon when we saw Lisa Cuneo, who is my scrapbooking table here on YouTube. She used hers, and we thought it was the most adorable little piece ever. So we had to have one of our own. So yes, that's where we got that. I also picked out a bunch of these little cards from the scrapbook kit that we picked up off the ship. I'm going to use one, but I'm not going to use both. And behind the scenes, I went through and I reprinted the actual wall themselves, where the astronaut is and where the top hat guy is, because I wanted them to be smaller. They were originally the same size as the word picture, but I wanted them to be smaller so I had enough room on my picture to get all of these pictures. You guys, in total, it ended up being 32 pictures on this double page layout. I'm not lying. I was super stoked to see how many pictures I was able to get across this 2-page layout when it was originally going to be 4 pocket pages, front and back, two actual page protectors, but front and back, 4 pages. So I'm really stoked at how this all came together. I'm trying to put it in a rainbow order. I don't know if this is the exact order that they were in walking down the hallway. But I am trying to put them in a rainbow-ish order going across. I do realize that I should have put my little red guy on the right-hand side because he is the only one that is technically facing into my page while everybody else is facing to the right. So I didn't realize that until afterwards, but in the end, it really doesn't bother me because it's not what I'm focusing on. I'm focusing on more of the numbers. I definitely wanted to make sure that the words were printed out really big and bold so I could continue to read them and know what they say. Like, what is this page all about? What is it? And it's basically just about the odds of doing this and the odds of doing that. However, they're out there because they wouldn't have these numbers if these miracles did not happen. And so I really like it. I really like it how it starts off with 205 to 1 or 66,000 to 1, but then it switches and goes 1 in 5,000. You know, the odds of this is 1 in 5,000. That is fabulous, you guys. And then, of course, it always reminds me of the Star Wars phrase where Han Solo yells and he says, "Never tell me the odds." I also debated about whether or not I needed to add a title to this. I almost added the title of the odds on here. But the word odds is on this layout so many times. I decided it doesn't need a title. It doesn't need any more embellishing. It doesn't need anything. I really like the design of this. This is a page that is just for me. It is all about what I find interest in, which are, like I said, numbers. I love coordinates. I just love numbers. And so this wall, or corridor, I should say, which is a series of walls, it really resonated with me and I wanted it in my album. And so simplistic as it is, here is what I came up with. And I absolutely love it. I really, really do. All right, you guys, don't forget to check out everyone else that is playing along with Stitches and Stencils, which are Sandy Reversky, who is State Goddess here on YouTube, as well as Janet Fritz, who is Galaxy Girl Creations here on YouTube. And so we are the 3 that are the brain children behind, well, not me. I was just told I had to do it. Stitches and Stencils, but it is super fun showing how we can add stencils and stitching, which is what we love to do. Sandy is our stencil queen, our stencil goddess, and I absolutely love stitching. I really, really do. Not just on my on paper. I love stitching in general, cross stitching and felt stitching, all the stitching. I just think that it adds a very personal touch to any artwork that you are trying to do. And then, of course, don't forget to check out Kit Conspiracy. I have lots and lots of links down below for Kit Conspiracy because not only do we do it here on YouTube, but we also have a Facebook group. And we share our kits over there. We share our projects over there. I haven't. I'm terrible about it this year. But the holidays are really catching up on me, and that's my only excuse. So I do apologize about that. But that is where everyone else that is playing along with Kit Conspiracy shares what they're doing, and it's just fabulous. All right, you guys, again, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really, truly appreciate it, and I will check you guys all later. Bye.